This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman and Riley Smith. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Monday, July the 25th, 2022, the last week of the month. We're so glad you could join us. Coming up later in the show, I was down in Keokuk last week for an Iowa Soybean Association District 9 meeting where we got to tour Lock and Dam number 19 on the Mississippi River. I bring you some information from that event. We'll also take a look at the ag weather outlook, but right now, it's time to check the markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. And we're at the end of the trading day for this Monday, and we turn to Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Robin, how did we fare coming out of today's trade?
Well, we saw some really good strength in across the grain markets, except for soybean oil. That was down lower because of Indonesia looking at increasing some of their exports. But on the other side, on the corn, we kind of had a back and forth for quite a while today. We hang around the 10-cent higher level, but then it started strengthening more into the close. It wasn't from export inspections because that was down a little bit at 28.5 million bushels. But it seemed to be tied more to maybe crop conditions. There's a variation on expectations for crop conditions from 1% to 3% lower. We're looking at about 1% lower at 63% good to excellent. Soybeans 1% lower at 60%. Spring wheat unchanged at 71%. Last year it was interesting because spring wheat was 9% good to excellent at this time. So quite a bit of a change there. And looking at harvesting for winter, we had 81% versus 70% last week. Now, the bigger news probably that was underpinning the market was Russia had signed an agreement with Ukraine on Friday, allowing for some exports to get through, exporting out into the world market. But yet, then a couple hours later or so, then they shot some missiles over into Odessa again, not in the grain area, but over into Odessa. But they said this morning that the attack on Odessa would not affect the plans to resume exports. However, what do you think? We've heard some shippers that said they're not going to go in there. It's too unstable. So even if they might open up for some shipments, they don't have much desire, at least at this point in time, to go in there and get anything. So it may not have damaged that ability to export, but it sure sets a psychological blockage or whatever, if you want to say, to those looking at moving into there. So export inspections for soybeans were down 14.3 million, wheat at 7.5, and that's over twice as much than what we saw last week. But wheat didn't lead the charge today. Really, the strength was more in the corn side. We got some cooler weather moving in on around the main grain states, some chances for some rain coming through over the next week or so, but yet it still remains hot and dry out in the western part. And we think that the potential is that some of the corn yield potential is damaged.
And what about the livestock side of things, Robin? How did those cattle and hogs fare?
Well, cattle were opened up as expected. They opened up quite a bit lower based on the cattle on feed report, but they came roaring back. Not that they made a huge increase in the end, but the closer months were up, 30, 40 points. But the cattle on feed, that was pretty as expected. On feed numbers at 100%, estimates for 99.8, placements were at 98%. That was the one that was more bearish to that market. The trade was expecting 94.3%. Came in at 98% placements. That's what caused the reaction early this morning. Marketings were right on at 102%. So marketings are good, but the placements were bearish. And, that's happened a number of times now, about 3 different reports where those numbers were a lot higher than the trade had expected. And that's what impacted the market. Now, along with that, we saw the cattle inventory report, the biannual inventory report, Cattle and calves were at 98%, down 2%. Beef cows over 500 pounds, 97%, and calves under 500 pounds, 97%. So that shows the trend of tightening supply. But yet we're still seeing some good placements. So there is some disbelief on some of those numbers on as far as placements are on the report, but be that as it may, those are the numbers that came out. Now today, boxed beef was higher at midday. Now that usually changes by the end of the day. The other part that's a little bit negative for this week, possibly on cash again, is that packers continue to be able to purchase cattle ahead. Now, last week they purchased what they needed plus 35% were committed for future delivery. So they've been doing this a number of weeks now, and that puts them in the driver's seat as far as their bidding for cash. And we've seen cash lower the last couple of weeks when they've had those purchased ahead, and they seem to be continuing to do that. Now, on the hog side, we saw unwinding of spreads today, and we saw a phenomenal gain in July last week based on higher cutouts, the index moving higher. We saw some unwinding of the spread today with pressure on August and October hogs, and then some strength in the later contracts. Some of that pressure today on closer hogs was because of the large cash decline on Friday of $6.23. Now at noon today, we saw that down another $3.67. So where that closes at the end of the day, but it looks like we'll see some lower cash again. The pattern has been 2 days of the week of strong cash, and then the other 3 days weaker cash. That's been a pattern. And so if that pattern holds, we'll see maybe Tuesday and Thursday again of stronger cash. Now the index as far as July 31st, all the way up to a $1.18. 16 or 118.16. That's just incredible that way that index is moving, and the projected index is up to over 119. So August has really come to fruition and being a strong month versus what normally is a stronger month into June and July's.
All right, Robin. Well, a lot of great information as always. Folks out there want to adjust marketing plans, talk some strategies. How do they get in touch with agmarket.net?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to agmarket.net. The phone number's on there for the general office, and you can speak to anybody that'll pick up.
That again was Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Let's take a look at the closing numbers courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. September corn closed up 15 3/4 at $5.80 even. December up 19 1/2 at $5.83 3/4. August soybeans up 38 1/2 at $14.73 even. November new crop up 30 1/4 at $13.46 even. Soy meal up $15.90 at $4.15.20. Soy oil down 51 cents at $58.32. Chicago wheat up 11 points at $7.88 1/2. Minneapolis wheat up 12 1/4 at $8.96 3/4. Kansas wheat up 19 1/4 at $8.46 3/4. December oats down 12 3/4 at $4.18 1/4. October live cattle 35 cents higher at $143.35. August feeders $2.25 lower at $179.30. August lean hogs down $1.47 at $117.22. Pork cutouts were down $1.10 at $123.42. Class 3 milk for July up 2 cents at $22.54. And that's been our closing market recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I'll be in Keokuk at Lock and Dam number 19. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AM/PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, last Tuesday I was down in Keokuk in some warm weather for the District 9 Iowa Soybean Association meeting in which we got a tour of Lock and Dam 19. One of those in attendance was a District 8 director by the name of Warren Bachman, and he's also on the Soy Transportation Coalition. We had the chance to talk about the importance of the lock and dam system on the river and also talk about other infrastructure needs both on the river and on the rails and elsewhere. Well, hello everybody, I'm Dustin Hoffman here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, Ag Matters PM, and we're down in Keokuk today as the Iowa Soybean Association was hosting their District 9 meeting at Iowa Lock and Dam 19. It has a lot of traffic that goes through here. It's one of the 26 lock and dam systems that is on the Mississippi River between St. Louis and St. Paul, and it's one of those things that we talk about a lot when we talk about the infrastructure of this river. Now, the lock system that we were at today was built in the early 50s, and with a 50-year to 60-year lifespan, it's already seeing its lifespan start to come to an end, not to mention the dams and systems that are older on the Mississippi River that need to be replaced. We had a chance to talk with the folks at Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Transport Coalition, and we heard about what they have to bring to the table and talk about infrastructure, talk about soybeans, exports, and more. And here's what they had to say. Having an event like this where we can come down to the river, see the lock and dam system, obviously the Mississippi River, as you talked inside, definitely very vital to our crops here in the United States. Give us those numbers again that you were talking about inside.
Well, 60% of the U.S. soybeans are exported, and I think 60% of the corn also. And of that 60% goes down the Mississippi River to be exported. The rest, most of it goes to the Pacific Northwest.
And we've been talking for quite a while, you know, especially with the government about trying to get these locks and dams updated. Tell us about where that situation is on a vital waterway like this.
Well, if one of these locks would go down, it would just really ruin our markets. We'd have to figure out some way to get the grain off of a barge, get it around the lock, reload it onto other barges or on a rail system or something, and it would probably cost us 50 cents to $1 a bushel in extra freight, and could be lost customers. You know, everything's on a schedule, and something goes down for a month or so, who knows what the final outcome would be.
Now, as we're standing here in Keokuk, they replaced their lock and dam in the 50s, which is still plenty old when you're talking about the lifespan of these, but their original one was in 1908 they were talking about. But just having this one is able to handle a larger system of barge than maybe some of the other ones downstream.
That's right. Alton, Illinois, the first one north of St. Louis, was redone 10 or 15 years ago. The next one upstream is Lock 25, and that the Soybean Association, the Coalition, the United Soybean Board, we've all given money for updating that. It's a 600-foot lock. It takes 2 hours in good weather, 8 hours in windy or icy weather to get these tows through, where otherwise they can just go through in one shot. So there's 26 locks between St. Louis and St. Paul. Think of all the lost time and the extra dollars it costs to split all these locks up. And then those locks were also built in the late 30s with a 50-year life expectancy. So they've had maintenance done on them, but it's probably time that they all get updated.
I was saying, if we're talking about Keokuk, yeah, it's considering somewhere in the 30s, it's a fairly newer one, but you're still talking about 70 years old almost.
That's right.
On this. Beyond the locks and dams, we talked about dredging, and obviously the lower Mississippi is a big deal. We were down in New Orleans for Commodity Classic and stuff, and we know about the importance of that system there and having that depth there. Talk about why it's needed to have all that dredging done.
Well, the lower Mississippi River had a 45-foot channel, and we want to get it to 50 feet. We've got it to 48 feet now, and think about it, you're not dredging that whole length. You're just got some humps and valleys in there that you're taking the humps out. And the reason that's important, Brazil has 70-foot ports. These ocean ships can haul 20 to 25% more if we have a 50-foot channel. So that'll lower the freight costs. For every dollar spent to deepen that lower Mississippi River, is projected it'll increase $7.10.
And of course, while we're standing here on the river, we've been talking about the importance of the river today, but right behind us is the rail system, and that's equally as important, especially when you're talking about getting out as the BNSF rolls by. You're talking about getting to the Pacific Northwest where we ship to the Pacific and stuff. I mean, this is all vital as well.
That's right. And another thing, this new renewable energy, not the biodiesel, but renewable diesel, that's going to be produced at an oil refinery because it takes hydrogen to produce it, and that's where the source of hydrogen will be, at the oil refinery. So the raw product is going to have to be shipped somewhere where there's a refinery, and then the finished product shipped out of it, and that will mostly be done by rail. So there's a lot that needs to be done to keep the Iowa soybean farmer in production.
So how are things going in District 8? Tell us about what's going on there. We're in District 9 today, but tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Well, in District 8, our crops are all right today, but we're just a few days away from a drought with this 100-degree close temperature coming.
All right. Anything you want to add for the soybean farmers across the whole state here to talk about what they need to know?
Well, when I got elected to the board, the only thing I knew was that the checkoff took money away from us. But after being on the board for almost 6 years now, there are so many projects that the Iowa Soybean Association is working on and been successful at that I think it's money well spent, and we're all farmers on the board. We're all looking out for each other, trying to increase our profits.
All right. Well, I thank you so much, Warren, for taking the time.
Yep, thank you.
Again, you can find all that information about the Iowa Soybean Association and the work being done with your checkoff dollars at iasoybeans.org. You can also find a link on our website through the banners on our webpage and also through our daily e-newsletter. For Ag Matters PM in Keokuk, I'm Dustin Huffman. And let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, it was a cloudy, dreary day with a chance of rain again here in Des Moines after that measly 200th we picked up on Saturday. Of course, some areas were able to get some more. We heard of 2 inches up in the northeastern part of the state, 4/10 down by Waterloo. So what is it going to look like for the next 24 hours? For that, we turn to the National Weather Service. Well, as we said, we did see cloudy skies and a little bit of rain shower activity. After not seeing a whole lot in our part of the state, we only got 2/100ths on Saturday, where some places did get 2 inches or more. But again, we will see those clouds will still stick around with us tonight, maybe break up a little bit. Slight chance of thunderstorms across the state. Tomorrow, going to continue with that mostly cloudy sky. Maybe a few more peaks of sun, though, and just a slight chance of thunderstorms. Tonight's low 59 to 62. Tomorrow, upper 70s to low 80s. As we take a look at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee, cloudy skies, chance of thunderstorms and 80. Shenandoah, cloudy, chance of storms and 81. In fact, most of the state cloudy with a chance of storms. Des Moines will have a high of 82. Waterloo, 79. Albia, 80. And Clinton will see 78 degrees. Waterloo's maybe got the best chance of seeing some of those breaks of sun. For more detailed forecasts in your area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been your Ag Weather Outlook. And just like that, we're at the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and you can also check out our YouTube channel where you can find back episodes of Ag Matters PM. And don't forget to click like and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time we put up a new video. You can also check out our free twice daily market podcast on Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Avery Haskell, we thank you for tuning in. This has been Ag Matters PM.